Guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Hans Louis D. Mahawan, and for today's video, we will talk about drug education. So first, let's define what is drug. So drugs are substances or chemicals used as a medicine or in making medicines, which affects the body and mind and to have potential for abuse. So, without an advice or prescription from a physician, drugs can be harmful because hundreds of pure chemicals have been developed from plants and put into pills, capsules, liquids, and medicines. In criminological meaning, it refers to substances or other than food and water that is intended to be taken or administered for the purpose of altering, sustaining, or controlling recipient physical, mental, or emotional state. There are also two forms of drugs, natural and synthetic or artificial. The natural drugs include natural plant leaves, flowering tops, resin, hashish, opium, and marijuana, while the synthetic drugs are produced by clandestine laboratories, which include those drugs that are controlled by law because they are used in a medical practice. Physicians prescribe them and are purchased in the legitimate outlets like drugstores. In general, there are 7 categories of drugs. Herbal drugs. So herbal drugs are plant substances that have drug effects, whose use is not generally regulated by the law. These substances requires little processing after the plants are gathered. These drugs may be grown locally. Next is over-the-counter drugs. Over-the-counter drugs are commercially produced drugs that may be purchased legally without prescription. These drugs are also known as proprietary drugs. Prescription drugs. Prescription drugs are commercially produced drugs that can be legally sold or dispensed only by a physician or on a physician's order. They are like over-the-counter drugs in that they are manufactured by pharmaceutical companies, but they differ in that the decision to use drugs is legally vested in a licensed physician, not in the user. Unrecognized drugs. Unrecognized drugs are commercial products that have a psychoactive drugs effect but are not usually considered drugs. These are substances are not generally regulated by law, except insofar as standards of sanitation and purify is required. Illicit drugs. Illicit drugs are drugs whose sale, purchase, or use is generally prohibited by law. Criminal penalties usually apply to violators of these laws. Tobacco. Tobacco is not generally considered a drug, thus may be classified as an unrecognized drug. However, tobacco holds such a distinct position in terms of usage patterns, economic importance, and health consequences that it merits a category to itself. Alcohol. Although alcohol may be included in the unrecognized drugs, alcohol in forms such as beer, wine, and distilled liquor is one of the most widely used drugs in our society. It is regarded by many experts as the most commonly abused drug in our society. In this part, I will discuss the ill effects of drugs on our body, specifically illegal drugs. Number 1, depressant. This group of drugs that has the effect of depressing the central nervous system. Number 2 is stimulant. This group of drugs having the effect of stimulating the central nervous system. Number 3, hallucinogens. This group of drugs that are considered to be mind-altering drugs and give the general effect of mood distortion. And number 4, tranquilizers. It refers to a drug which is designed for the treatment of anxiety, fear, tension, agitation, and disturbances of the mind. specifically to reduce states of anxiety and tension. And number 5, solvent or inhalants. Inhalants are various products easily bought and found in the home or workplace. They contain dangerous substances that have psychoactive properties when inhaled. Conclusion: to enlighten your mind, especially to the youth, do not engage in drug addiction. Always remember that engaging in drug addiction could ruin your life. The effect of drug addiction makes you feel uncomfortable. And that's all for today's video. Thank you for listening, guys.